Is friendship possible on the spiritual path? There are parts of the Bodhisattvacharya and Tsongkhapa's instructions which imply a very solemn path where even sharing or talking about your experiences is discouraged. How much do we share with Sangha? What is true refuge in the Sangha?
Friendship on the spiritual path is called spiritual friendship. Kalyana Mitra, sometimes called a spiritual friend. It's not the only possible, but it can be an essential support, essential component on the spiritual journey. When grounded in genuine Dharma motivation, we need it. We need the friendship. A spiritual friendship is different from worldly friendship, like a partners or companionship, although they give us a lot of support and emotional nurturing and all this good stuff. But this friendship is based on the encouragement, encouraging each other toward wisdom and compassion, rather than personal attachment or distraction. Yeah, so different in nature, but the very essential component, especially on the spiritual journey. Then what's the second component of this text, like Bodhicharyavatara and Tsongkhapa guidance? Yeah, so they caution against the idle talk and the superficial bond that might dilute one's practice. So that's what they're referring to. However, they do not reject meaningful connection. Instead, they emphasize discernment, discerning wisdom, sharing only what nurtures the path rather than inflating the ego or seeking validation. So from the day one in Dakini's Whisper, we kind of decided to take the approach of this dialogue approach and spiritual friendship, so to speak, like sharing and also support each other, emphasis of this function of the spiritual friendship. Very important. I never seen somebody's kind of exhibiting this, inflating the ego and or seeking validation or something like that, boasting or something like I know better than you kind of things. Because I think we created the environment, like an atmosphere for people to nurture, help each other on the basis of this motivation, sublime motivation of bodhicitta, meaningful connections. So within the Sangha, it is beneficial to exchange our sharing, struggle, insight, and encouragement, especially struggle. Sometimes it's comforting to hear the other people struggle because we ourselves also gone through that struggle and maybe came out as something or overcame that struggle through our own life experience. Then that sort of sharing is very beneficial. We do always with awareness of why we are sharing. In our community, we set a kind of context, so to speak. We are not having let's have a chit chat, although I have a tendency to do that, but more like a setting on the basis of bodhicitta. We share our experience genuinely based on our own direct experience. It's not somebody else's experience. We speak from here. So that's very important.
Is there any benefits or like dangers of sharing in those friendships kind of nyam experiences, like meditative experiences? Because that's something that I think there is a lot of confusion sometimes about. There is warning against doing it in some communities. And then naturally, sometimes we want to talk about, some.
Of course, there are many different levels of nyam, right? Nyam simply means experience. For example, at the end of meditation, I open up, what was this meditation for you or something like that. Then you said, oh, I felt very relaxed and blissful. That could be nyam as well. It's nothing dangerous about that. But of course, if we go to the deeper levels of nyam, that's something you might like to share only with your teacher or this spiritual friend, Kalyana Mitra, spiritual mentor, so that you don't cause any other people kind of misunderstand especially subtle point of the subtle bodies or some experience through for example, completion stage practice or something like that. Those sort of things are only shared with certain people. They are not in the public. I mean, everybody knows that, I think have a innate kind of discerning wisdom, what need to be shared, what maybe should not. In other words, I don't want to make ourselves, students, to feel kind of fear, have a kind of hesitation to share the kind of those common experience. Sometimes people get very nervous about talking about one's experience. But in our community, not many people are like that. Get used to it.
I'm curious if you were to compare it to more traditional communities, the communities that you spent time in Mongolia or Tibet or India, would you say that it was commonplace to share experiences amongst people there, or was it a little bit more tight-lipped than our community is?
No, this was completely geared toward the Western practitioners. In a traditional setting, we don't, I mean, of course, when we talk about Nyam, we are talking at the very high levels of Nyam, then go to teacher and one-to-one and receive instructions and then go and meditate, come back. And so that's very personal. But I ideally felt when we started the Dakini's Whisper, dialogue style needed to be adapted to the West, not just following the Tibetan tradition, Tibetan colored kind of style. Some are still doing that. I think we have authentic Tibetan teachers and his guidance. So that may work as well. But Dakini's Whisper is something like what you call the dropout, like a girl dropout or something. But I'm happily dropped out while we are maintaining the essence of the Lama Tsongkhapa, the ear whisper lineage. So that's what I wanted to do. We also very much not hierarchical, more like a sharing, like a circle, feeling sense of the circle, and it's like a learn from each other. That sort of thing is more healthy in the West. You guys already have this kind of aversion toward the authority figure. So the true spiritual friendship arises when our interaction deepens our commitment rather than scattering our energy. When we share, we have a tendency to started to talk about one's own history or stories, my childhood and this and that, then on and on and on. Then kind of lose the friendship in that sense, spiritual friendship. So we have to ask ourselves, are we or am I reinforcing wisdom and devotion? Or am I getting caught in attachment? Self-importance or doubt, and this dialogue is exercise. Through these kind of exercises, this discerning wisdom develops. So we know what's right to share, what's not right to share. Did we answer that question? How much do we share with Sangha?